Hey, yo. Welcome to the QB School post draft day one live. Let's do it live. My man, Kenny Pickett, coming in hot. Whew! Well, that quarterback class was exactly what most people said it was, wasn't it? Wow. Well, lots to, not really lots. Some to talk through. This probably be not that long because there really isn't that much good stuff going, to be honest with you. My goodness. One quarterback, first round. A little scotch, drop it down. Any Glen will do. Well, let me know what you think. Make sure I sound all right. Hit me with your favorite emoji in the chat. We'll get this thing going. See how long we can make this thing go. Probably got a handful of hot bits. Just talk obviously about Kenny Pickett, the Steelers. Talk about who's available, what's looking like at early day 2 for some of these other guys. But I'm excited to see what everybody else thinks. I mean, maybe Kenny Pickett was always the consensus, and I just never knew what I was looking at. We'll see. Time will tell. Let me take a second here. I appreciate everybody checking in. Make sure you kill that like for me for this thing. I do have fun with these kind of post, whether it's Super Bowl draft lives, are probably one of my more fun lives over the course of the year. So I appreciate the interaction and supporting the channel. As for the quarterbacks, the draft, obviously everyone kind of had the same understanding that it was slightly underwhelming as far as the expectations, specifically at the top of the draft. But then just kind of what happened, I don't know, where I thought some spots where they could potentially see some quarterbacks go, whether it's Carolina, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's Seattle, and then the Steelers. Let's first just acknowledge Kenny Pickett thing. It's pretty cool. There's an element of it that's really cool. Pitt plays there, right? In the same stadium. Pretty bizarre. Got to feel pretty surreal to him, just kind of being able to kind of feel the emotions of what that's like for him to be whatever he is, super senior, whatever, to have the kind of year that he had, to be able to stay in that town, to play for that franchise. And it really is a storied franchise. Maybe the quarterback production hasn't been what maybe it's been used to the last few years, but, pretty cool. Just if you are Kenny Pickett, that situation, pretty surreal. I mean, really. On a number of different levels. So from that standpoint, I was like, damn, that's pretty wild. I just didn't think they would do that. I didn't think, obviously I didn't think they would do that, but pretty wild. From there, okay, so let's acknowledge what it is. It's cool for Kenny Pickett. The Steelers, I just don't understand. What the fuck are they doing? What is happening? How can you sit in that room? Like, I just imagine being in the room. Okay, you're the personnel, you're the draft, you're the head coach, you're the whatever, GM, and you look across your division. You've got Lamar Jackson. You've got Deshaun Watson. You've got Joe Burrow. And you think, you know what, fellas? Kenny Pickett fell to us. Kenny Pickett. I mean, I don't, that's no shot. That's a shot on the guy, but it's not necessarily specific to him. I just don't understand how you can pass on what the potential could be for Malik Willis. I'm not saying he is going to be there by any means. I don't give a shit about the small hands, the whatever. I'm just talking about how you look at your division and think, this guy's the answer for us for the next 10 years. I want to know, I would love to know that what the hell happened. How did we get here? Why this over that over other available options? And when you look at that division, I don't understand. I don't understand how you can think that Trubisky and Pickett, and really let's just talk Pickett. He spends a first round capital on a guy he's going to play eventually really quickly. I just don't think I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, those guys get paid a hell of a lot more than I do and that many of us do to talk about or know anything about football. But at the same time, make it make sense. Someone make it make sense. I just, you look across the landscape of that division, and it doesn't make sense to me in any regard, at any level, and no one can make it make sense to me. Whew. Damn. All right. We got going on in here. We got 90 of our closest friends hanging out. What do we want to talk about? What can we talk about? I know a lot of really mature guys, really mature people. That doesn't mean that they're going to be good quarterbacks. Like, I don't understand. Damn. Whew. Now what I really need to do is look at the draft order for the first part of the second round. And really it doesn't matter, because if you like Malik Willis or someone else, whoever, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, you're going to move up and get him. You got to move up and get him. And that was a cool part. I will say my favorite part of the first round draft, just my personal opinion, was just seeing the movement and the aggressiveness. And I love to see people move and go get what they want. And maybe it doesn't always work out, but I think it's just the way you can tell the league has, your windows get even more compressed. Whether you're the head coach, whether you're the GM, you only get a certain amount of opportunity. And so if you have targeted someone that is your fit, that is your player, go get them. I love to see it. Pretty cool. Wild. Michael, the hometown hero, is a popular choice. I don't know. Is he in Pittsburgh? Maybe he is. I don't know. Yeah, tough. So whoever loves Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, hopefully those guys come off the board early. What day 2 is, round 2 and round 3, I'm hoping for. Tough. Mike 677. That's a good question. I'm almost positive. No, it's not almost positive. It's a Scotch. I usually say Annie Glenn will do, just to not give away my different iterations that I like. But Ian, if you know what movie that's from, I'd be really impressed. Someone out there knows Annie Glenn will do. So Austin, perfect example. Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm crushed. I'm assuming that means you're not good. Who is excited about this? Is someone excited besides Kenny Pickett's family and the Steelers? I'm fascinated to maybe, I don't know. I don't know, man. Even the highlights that they showed after the draft. I was watching the ESPN coverage for the most part. I was like, I mean, that's the day. What? To the AFC? Man. All right. My man Austin coming in hot. Who watched Bills Chiefs in the playoffs and thought, Kenny Pickett screaming? Oh, man. The other part about it, and I don't know, I think it's a nice reflection on the league, just as far as the way that the game is changing, and maybe just the depth at the wide receiver position at the top. But to see that many guys come off in the middle of the first round was pretty impressive. And 3 of those damn guys were on the same team. That's pretty surreal. I mean, it really is. Whether it's the recruiting, what it says about college football, pretty wild. I don't know. Pretty wild that you could transfer from Ohio State to Alabama to get more touches to be, flourish even more in the passing game. Kind of just speaks volumes to me about the direction of college football, the direction of the league, the priority of these perimeter guys and what they mean. And a little bit, even with the trades, where it's kind of essentially, I don't want to necessarily frame it as plug and play, but I think it's easier for guys to come in and make an impact on the perimeter than maybe other positions. I think, like, what would be an example? Like working into the rotation or beating out a veteran guy at the offensive line spot. Immediately, I think it's just easier on the perimeter. Maybe I've always thought it's easier the farther away you get away from the ball, but maybe that's my own issues. Whew. Yeah, the trade. Well, I will say the other part, just like quick reaction to the first round, is the trades and maybe the way it was broadcast just felt so jumbled, almost like you're almost like whitewater rafting, where it just felt like you're just like, wait, what? Who? They traded for what? Who traded who? Wait, AJ Brown is where? And it just felt like it was like almost too fast for them to make sense of it. And I don't know, maybe it was just too fast for me to make sense of it, but it felt as rushed and jumbled as I can remember. And it was kind of, I personally enjoyed the break from like the crazy bizarre stories about some of these guys and to just appreciate the journey of what it is, but it felt choppy for sure. There you go. All right. We got Panty Music is fired up for his brother's hyped because of the TD to INT ratio. Well, then you guys really should have gone after like Blaine Zappi. I don't know what his ratio is, but I mean, I don't know necessarily if college TD to interception ratio translates to the league. I will say, and maybe it's just me, again, obviously it's just me, but Jordan Davis, the dude that the Eagles got, I know, and I don't know why, I feel like it's easier for guys like, who is my man on ESPN that just talks nonsense, Booger. If you show, and maybe this is just a reflection of me in this channel, because I try so hard to not do this and be transparent about what small little process we have here. And when you show one or two clips after a guy gets drafted and you bash his work ethic or his motor, I just have a really hard time with that, man. Like, you can cherry pick anybody and have some bad snaps. You just can't. And I try to be really clear with that when I'm doing game recaps or samplers. You just can't. You can find two clips of anybody loafing for the most part. And so for me to say that, you know, whoever it is, you know, is not a high energy, not high motor guy, you know, he didn't play a whole lot of snaps for Georgia. That's because nobody played a whole lot of snaps for Georgia. That's because they got like a bunch of dudes that got drafted in the first round. It was like the most ridiculous defense in a long, long time. I don't know. It pissed me off, but I love that dude, Jordan Davis. All right, we got 122 of our closest friends. This is actually going down faster than I probably would have thought. I should have made myself a bigger pour so we could get through this damn thing. Yeah, my man Dan Zindran. How about all those teams passing on Willis? I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not necessarily shocked that Malik Willis didn't go in the first round. I think most people would identify him as not someone who you would necessarily expect to come in and be the day one guy. But who were the day one guys last year? I mean, two guys, and how'd that work out for you? So, all right, let's, find the best spot for him. So I was hoping that someone would maybe move at the end of round one, come get him, come feel like he's got the potential to be that kind of guy. Didn't happen. Now I personally, selfishly, just want him to go to the best spot, not necessarily the opportunity for him to play first or play the fastest, because those spots usually aren't the best football teams. So again, I personally, there's no knock on any of my buddies that are Carolina fans, but I don't necessarily want to see him in Carolina. I don't necessarily want to see him in Detroit. No offense, Dan Campbell. Like those types of things. Like, I just feel like there potentially are better situations for him to go learn from and be in a little bit more stable of a situation. That's why I thought Pittsburgh was just going to be such a great opportunity for him. And maybe he'd have to come in there and play a little quicker than maybe they want. But, I mean, they signed Trubisky, right? I mean, not to a huge deal, but to like you got the potential to play deal, right? So maybe Atlanta's that team. Maybe. Tough. My man Tobin coming in hot with the booger takes. I don't know, man. He must have pictures on somebody at ESPN or in something. Maybe I just don't get it. I don't pretend to have the answers with that type of stuff. I will say that, he's not my favorite cat. It's a weird, I don't know. I've never been on panel shows like that. I have no aspirations to do panel shows like that. But I just think maybe it's because we're in the NBA playoffs and that TNT panel is so good, and you can tell that there's like actual friendships and joy between some of these guys and their interactions, and they have fun with each other, and they just get loose. Where I feel like those ESPN panels they're just tough to watch. They're just fucking tough to watch, man. I just don't enjoy it. For a good half hour, I hit mute and put on Pat McAfee. And it's not like that was my favorite thing in the world to hear, Aaron talk about certain things, but it was better than what ESPN was doing. I guess I could have went to another channel, but it's not for me. All right, let's get through a few questions here, see if there's anything locked in here that I can either rapid fire for some questions, for some interaction in the chat. So if you have questions, now is the time. I'll do my best to kind of rapid fire some of these things. One Hoop, is Mariota really the long-term solution in Atlanta? Probably not. Christian Watson, wide receiver, NDSU, thoughts about big board status. I personally I was hoping that he would end up going to the Packers. That was just me. I think he'll got a chance to come off pretty early. My man Robert, I appreciate that, dude. That's true. Zach, ESPN is tough to watch in general. That's why they had to go hire Joe and Troy to make Monday Night Football again. Again, I don't pretend they have the answers for that Monday night thing, but at least those two guys certainly have a relationship where you can tell that they don't totally hate each other, and they certainly know what's going on ball-wise. KA, why do you think Pittsburgh took Pickett? I'm hoping that they took him because they thought that he was the best player available. They certainly have a need at that position. They probably have a deep understanding of him, I guess, would be my understanding from, the relationship of playing in the stadium, from being there. Really special story. I just don't know how you turn on the tape and think that I don't understand. I still, not only I don't think he's the best player in the draft, even the top couple players in the draft, but how you look across, I honestly, I can't get the division picture out of my mind. You have to play Lamar Jackson twice. You have to play Joe Burrow twice. You have to play Deshaun Watson twice. What am I missing? Who is in the Steelers room saying, you know what we can do to get even with this group is get Kenny Pickett. And maybe he turns out to be a Hall of Famer. And I wish him, honestly, I wish all these guys nothing but the best. And in my opinion, what we've seen, his track record in college, doesn't project that. But those other three guys are dudes. They are dudes. That conference is laced with dudes. And you got one opportunity, in my opinion, for a shot at a dude in this draft class. And obviously no one thinks that he is that dude because nobody drafted him in the first round. So, the chance might be small, but whew. Dan, did you see Lamar Jackson tweet WTF when they drafted Hollywood? I did see him drafted. I didn't do the math on when exactly it came out. I assume that's what it is. I don't know. The wide receiver thing for me is a little bit, I think with all the movement at wide receiver, the talent that's in this draft, the ability to maybe get someone who can come in and contribute at a high level in a, not necessarily a round one high pick setting, still leaves a great opportunity for those guys to find some significant value at that position. All right, let's see what we got here. Trent Cybots. Would you take Locke as QB plus good corner running back over Willis or Ritter at this point? No. I would take Willis or Ritter in that. I don't. And that maybe it was the narrative that was on the broadcast that Seattle really loves Locke. Again, y'all tell me. Come at me with examples that show his capacity to do it at a high level on Sunday consistently. I don't know. You can only get so many people fired and replaced before it becomes an issue. Whew. All right. A couple more here as I get to the very bottom of this thing. Again, some of you guys are asking me questions that I honestly don't have a strong opinion on. There are many guys in this draft that got drafted in the first round that, maybe if they don't play quarterback, or they are not a top tier receiver, or they're not a top tier talent guy in the Georgia defense, I probably never even heard of them. I make no bones about it. This is not a comprehensive draft channel, mock draft guy. My man Robert, I'm not ignoring you. That's just the truth. What team drafts a running back first, and which running back do you feel is the best in the draft? I think my favorite running back in the draft is the Iowa State dude, for sure. I have no idea who takes it first. I think so many of these teams now are scared to go running back for whatever reason. And I think there's actually good reason with positional value. But just the idea being, who needs more running backs? Everybody needs more running backs. It just comes at the point where, it matches up best available with what you're kind of potentially looking at that position, especially when you're still in like second-ish round. I feel like once you get out of the second round, the positional need kind of goes out the window and you just kind of draft best available. But I think some people think that all the way through, and I think there's validity in both. This could be running back school, my boy Robert. I appreciate the support though, sir. Nova didn't care about Pickett. He wanted an obvious pick for the Steelers. All right, maybe. Here's the other thing, and I'm just spitball talking to myself here. Is Jordan Love younger than Kenny Pickett? Let's just operate under the assumption that they're the exact same age. Okay. Now, Kenny Pickett, I think, got significantly better in college, like showed improvement, which is a nice trait. But would you rather have Jordan Love or Kenny Pickett? I personally would rather have Jordan Love, no doubt. Like, I've seen him play a little bit on Sundays. He's been sat behind one of the best to do it in a long time. I mean, I can't be the only guy, right? Thinking that. Like, maybe you can't get Baker Mayfield in Seattle, but I don't know. Shane Cram, my man. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate everybody smashing that like, my man Nick. Shane, did QB needy teams punt to next year because next year's class is better, you think? I think that there's some probably correlation between some teams that maybe don't want to necessarily reach at that position just because you really are tethered to those picks depending on where you make them. I think you're not tethered to a late first round pick or certainly a second round pick at a quarterback spot. Now, the same thing though, you're saying, hey, we're going to punt on the quarterback thing. That means we're going to be drafting number 1 next year or number 2. I don't think any team wants to think that. I really don't. I think some people will probably, think that teams tank or organizations intentionally rebuild or stuff like that, not to get the number 1 pick. That means you had a terrible, horrific year and people are getting fired. So no. Thomas Delgado, what's your favorite spot for Malik? This is a good question. I don't necessarily know. I guess I don't think about it like that. I'm not like necessarily a fan for one team or really do the whole like what team needs type thing. I think that if he got the opportunity to go and sit behind a guy who knows exactly what he's doing and he's comfortable in that role, which not everyone is, but could go and just get that year, not necessarily to sit and learn, but to just not to see how it's done at a high level, not to go in behind someone who's, fighting for their life, like Mariota, like to go into a situation where you could really see a guy who's does it at a high level, does it well with the idea that, hey, year 2, it's you, those types of things. I just think those situations are rare as hell. Like you see what it does. It's doing to the 49ers right now. It's tearing them apart. They can't figure out what the hell's going on with, trying to figure out exactly how that position gets settled in a best situation for everyone involved or just the best for the organization. So I don't think it's easy. I just think some organization is going to look long term at the potential at the ceiling for some of these guys, specifically Malik Willis, and think, hey, we can get significant potential return, hit a star here, and make something happen in the correct situation. But it'll hurt some feelings wherever it is. My man Chris. That's a good idea. That's not a bad idea at all. I like Willis to the Giants. I know Dable from way back when certainly had some the magical touch with the Bills and what he's going to be able to do. It'll be fun to see. No, Devin, not a huge fan of Willis to the Broncos. Russ, their idea is Russ playing for a long time, I'm going to imagine. All right, y'all. I appreciate what we got. Jeez, almost 200 people in here hanging it out. Pickett, I'm sorry, bro. Swiss, Mr. KC, Pickett killed it in the interviews. His mind and poise evidently was off the charts. Bro, get out of here. That shit doesn't mean that he gets to be the first guy picked. I mean, I don't know. I think some of that stuff gets so overblown. I mean, there's tape and tape and tape and tape about how well these guys play. Yes, you know, you can certainly help yourself and hurt yourself a little bit, but to go from, you know, I don't know. It's wild to me. It's just wild to me. I mean, maybe it's just me because I intentionally don't pay attention to maybe a lot of rankings or where guys are falling. But you tell me, am I off my rocker? Was Kenny Pickett the number one on most people's board at the quarterback position? If he was, I wasn't aware, and maybe it's my own ignorance, intentional ignorance with it, but it would it just struck me as strange on many levels. Now, it struck me that strange that Matt Corral was also at the draft, but that's just me. I mean, you guys are cracking me up. All right, thanks so much for hanging. I'm going to step aside, get some rest. Maybe we'll do this again tomorrow, depending on what time the draft ends. But it is fun just to come in here and check in, make sure some of these guys, it'd be a really special day for a number of these guys tomorrow. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. Good one tomorrow about increasing your capacity to process. If you are a quarterback out there or a play caller, I think you're going to dig it. Little tricks of the trade. As always, thank you so much for hanging out. I will see you next time. Have a good one.